Yeah, I'm Victoria Brown, and I'm an artist, and I'm going to be doing this afternoon's Crafternoon session. This is my third Crafternoon for Artcore, and my first one was painting blossom, and my second one was painting water. And today we're going to focus on painting and illustrating children's storybooks. It was quite a few years ago now that I started illustrating books with a very good friend, Vicky Cassidy, and we just started really illustrating after a telephone conversation. It was Vicky was interested in creating stories and writing, and she told me about a storybook that she was writing at the time about a goldfish in a goldfish bowl. And I sat sort of puzzling and pondering about the story. And in fact, whilst I was on the phone, I drew this little illustration. I don't know whether you can see that. And I was trying to understand what the goldfish bowl would actually look like. It was described as a bowls within bowls. It's like different circles and different levels within the bowl. So I sort of, in my mind, it was like a wedding cake sort of design. So I did that little sketch and then talked to Vicky about it. When I showed her the sketches, this was the day before being able to video call each other, which would have been a lot easier if we had had that. It was discussed about the bowl. It was all bowl within one bowl. It was one huge bowl. So I had to sort of sort of think my designs, and it was agreed that we would actually have a go at illustrating this book together. So it was really just two creative friends with young children at home, just doing something creative, a project for ourselves. And we never ever imagined it would take us as far as it did. It was a wonderful project and thoroughly enjoyed it. Hello everybody, thanks for joining me. Hello Julie, hello Rebecca. Hello Zahia, wonderful that you could join us today. So just talking about children's story illustration, and this was the very first sketch that I did with a friend starting the books. And then one thing led to another. I did some more sketches, as I often start with is a sketchbook. I gathered postcards and photographs, visited the local garden centre and looked at the aquatic pond and took photographs and did sketches and drawings of this little goldfish, trying to understand the story and get some sort of images in my head. And sort of over time developed the pictures using collage and different techniques. So this was very much the experimental sort of stage. This is the finished product that we created. And it was a very long journey from the initial sketch to this point of hand-bound leather books, hand-finished. It's got a little Swarovski crystal there on the goldfish eye. The character was called Finn, the little goldfish. We even finished it with a little ceramic heart and put the book together with illustrations and text. So it was a very long process. First of all, Vicky was busy writing the story and I was doing the illustrations, and these are all the original illustrations that I did. So it was quite a playful kind of experience, if you can see those. I sketched and drew lots of fishes. And I used collage technique. I would draw pages and pages of the fish, cut them out, create different backgrounds for them, and then I would actually, we've got a fish playing football there, and then eventually, when we got the whole story together, we contacted a publisher. We took different publishers, and in the end we decided, rather than wait for publishers, we decided to actually self-publish. So we went down the self-publishing route as well for our books. So it took a few years really to do the whole project, and a lot of different stages along the way. This was one of the stages here. Vicky went up to Buxton at Scrivener's Bookshop, and she had a go at hand binding and realised how exciting actually the idea of physically making the books ourselves. So we actually went up and I learnt how to hand make the books as well. And this is just like a rough sort of workings of the illustrations that I created and putting the text together. And creating the book ready to take to the printers so we could actually show them the whole story put together as we were doing all the work ourselves. Eventually, the printing, the printers had all my images scanned and all the text, and they printed great big sheets of paper, and then these were folded. And once they're folded, then the storybook can actually start to be formed. You can maybe see there's a thread. This is a wax thread, and all the pages had to be stitched together to create the book. And we had a special frame, a stitching frame, to actually speed the process up. So we had piles of these, one after the other, stitching them, and then doing the next one without having to cut the thread. So you'd get several being sewn in one go. So when we had the inside of the book ready, then we had to create the outside of the book, the carcass of the book. So this is basically one of the early sort of rough examples with red leather. And within it, you can see there's just 2 pieces of thick card that have been cut. And then there's a central part for the spine. So essentially, really, this innard bit here goes into the middle, and the outside of the book wraps around. So it took a lot of working out. Fortunately, Vicky's very good at maths, and we managed to work out the dimensions. And eventually, we had these ready. There's all sorts of different other things within the book I haven't got. If you can see here, there's tiny little bits of ribbon at the end of those. It's just a little stripy one that we chose just to finish it off beautifully. And then also we had Italian paper. This is Fabriano Italian end paper, which is a really lovely thick quality. Beautiful paper, and we thought about the end papers of old historical books that had marble printing on them, and as this was a book about a goldfish, I thought it would be fun to have a go with some bubble printing to create the bookends. So I set up on my kitchen floor one day and with straws and fairy liquid and water and trays, old margarine tubs, and made clouds of bubbles, and then dropped the inks and the paints on top of the bubbles. And if you can catch them quickly enough on the piece and paper, once they start popping and reduce down, they create these lovely patterns. So this is obviously a copy of it, but this is the original here. So I don't know whether you can see that. That's the original bubble paper that I created, and then it was copied at the printers for the book. So the wonderful thing about creating your own books is you have complete freedom to make it your own and do what you want with it. So we wanted the ceramic heart. We set up a company called Love Publishing to set up our own book self-publishing company, and that involved registering, having ISBN numbers for each book, and there's also certain requirements that you have to have within a book about the where it's printed about the publishing company and all the official details. So if you look at your books at home, they'll all have that inside. So we had to make sure we were doing all right that right. So it was a really long process, but we learned a lot along the way. We even decided to wrap them up as a gift, and we had these wax seals with a little love heart on, or some of them had an L on them, and we used this candle wax that was used traditionally in the olden days to actually seal letters. So once we'd wrapped them all up, we sat there with a match and lit this, and then dropped the wax onto the parcels, and then sealed them with love, which was quite beautiful. So they were very well received, and people bought them particularly as christening gifts and gifts for newborn children, which was wonderful. We also produced a much more affordable paperback book for everyone to purchase, and this we enlarged some of the images in this, so we played about with it even more and refined what we did. We did another book called Tiny Ant. Let's see if I can find that one. Where have I put it? There it is. Tiny Ants Hiding. So tiny. This is about an ant in the gardens, at Treeper Gardens in Cornwall. I started this one after a visit there with my family, and it's basically a story about an ant who leaves the colony and goes to explore in the garden, National Trust Gardens in Cornwall. So that was that one as well. So I'll probably talk to you about that a bit later. But back to the little goldfish. So we had a whole set of illustrations there, and Vicky developed the story. So it was a lot of working to and fro all the time, trying to make sure that the story worked with the illustrations. If you can see here, I'll probably try and do some illustrations for you so you can have a go as well. I've shown you got a page here, and this is how I really started off with a little goldfish. Just drawing lots of the characters, and you can be quite playful once you get started. I just started with these two little characters in the middle, and then drew some more goldfish around it. But then you can start being playful with baby goldfish, and the characters start interacting with each other. So if you find it daunting thinking about developing a character, just have a look around you. Have you got any pets? Have you got a dog at home, or have you got a cat that you could study and do sketches? It might be even a spider that's in the corner of the room, or something out your window. Just see what there is there around you to give your inspiration. I went to visit Beatrix Potter's house in the Lake District last spring. Had a wonderful one night away in the Lake District, and we went to see Beatrix Potter's farmhouse at Hilltop in Cumbria, and the Lake District, and I'm fascinated by her story. I didn't really know a lot about her until I actually visited there, and I found it really interesting to see her early life and her early illustrations, and the way that she used all her home, her furniture, her pottery, her collections of antiques. She used all of those in her illustrations. She also used her garden and the creatures within her garden as well to use as their characters. So I think with any illustrator and story writer, I think it's a lot of observation of things that are familiar and things that are around you. Within this book, Beatrix here, this is one of her little sketches when she was 10, one of the drawings. She loved the natural world, and her and her brother used to smuggle in insects and little animals into their nursery. They had quite a lonely Victorian existence. They didn't go to school. They had a governess that would come and educate them. But they smuggled in these creatures, and she would study them and draw them. There's also a picture here of all the blue tits from different angles. So she really studied creatures and how they moved, and their colour, their pattern, their form, their shape. So there's a lot of work that went into her illustrations and her drawings. She later went on to be an incredibly successful writer, and she had, which was very unusual at the time for a female writer to be so successful, and all her books were very affordable for people, and they were very popular. And she just kept on drawing and illustrating until the end of her life. If you wanted to find out more, there's a brilliant website called peterrabbit.com. There's activities for children on there, and there's more information about Beatrix Potter. Have a look at that, and if you can, go to the National Trust Hilltop once the isolation has been lifted, and once we can start to move around again, because I can recommend going to see it. So lots of observation, really. I'm going to draw a simple goldfish for you, because if you want to have a go yourself, don't be daunted by it, because it's really simple process. I think I'll probably use a dark pencil and see if you can see that. So when you're drawing, when you're starting off with something, I'll do it quite large so you can see. It might help just to have a little mark on your page where the front, where the nose is going to be, and then where the body's going to finish, and then I'm going to put little dots where the tail's going to be as well. I don't know whether you can see that. Maybe if I use a felt tip, it might be easier for you to see. I can find one. So I'm going to draw the body first. There we go. And then just draw the tail, flip it up and down, up and down. That's a very simple little goldfish. Oh, I probably need you can't actually see that very well, can you? I don't think. Can you see it a bit closer? If I get closer, can anybody see that? Have a look, see if I can find it. Here we go. I've got a darker pen. I can do that so you can see better. This is a good old Sharpie pen. I like to have permanent pens, because then I can just do a colour wash over the top of it and they don't smudge. So it's worth having a few of them. There's a box here of Derwent fine liners, and these are the different thicknesses, so you can get a really fine line or a thicker line. So I could recommend those if you want to try it out. So then a really big lovely eye. Let's make Finn really friendly, and then his eyeball within his eye, like that. And then I'm going to keep part of it white and then colour the rest in. So hopefully it'll make it look as though he's got a really shiny eyeball, like that. Might give him a smile. Let's make Finn happy today. And then we just need some fins floating in the water, and another one down below, and maybe a little bit of detail for the tail, a bit of shading there. So basically that's just a really simple way of drawing a goldfish. I've got some paints here, so I've got some acrylic inks, so I'm going to put in a little palette. So if I put that into the palette, maybe a little bit of yellow as well, if I can find the yellow. Can't find the yellow now. Oh well, there it is. It's hiding, so I've got some yellow as well. So I put a little bit of yellow in my palette too. There's not a lot of that left. And then we can combine the two colours. So I've got quite a fine brush there to use. Right, so I've got a pot of water. I like to use jam jars so they don't tip over easily, and I also like the ring they make when you're washing your brush. It's very satisfying. So just going to have a go at painting this. Now just start with the darker colour around the edge of the body like this. So, and that will help with the shading. So if we go all the way around and then just draw some of the ink down, just try and soften that line that you've got there. Just keep drawing the ink down. And hopefully, if we do that, it will create a 3D effect on the goldfish. We put a little bit too much on that bit there. So just soften this out here, draw it up, the orange paint, and then blend that before it dries. With inks, it's a bit different to working with acrylics, oils and acrylics. They don't take quite as long. They don't dry as quickly as inks do. So just be aware with inks, they do dry fairly quickly, so you have to work fairly quickly. So that's coming together. I might put a little bit of yellow on there just to give a golden sort of look to the fish. Keep painting and blending it down. And as you apply the colour, it really starts to come alive. You even end up starting to talk to your characters. If you watch the film Miss Potter, she actually talks to her characters when they start to come alive, and I can see why. I think it's all about observing creatures, observing people, people's expressions, people's emotions. So a little bit more on the tail, like that, and then maybe a little bit on the fin too. So that's your little goldfish. Now you can call your goldfish whatever you like. This is your artwork, this is your imagination, so it's really important that you use your imagination with this. So, and whilst we're stuck in lockdown, it's a great thing, however old you are, to actually tune into your imagination and transport yourself elsewhere. So I'm going to cut that out now, a little fin, goldfish, and we can use it in our illustration. So, and the great thing I like to do is with doing the collage technique is that you can play about with your picture and you can move your character on a page, and it's a bit like a little bit of a theatre production. You're just creating your own story and seeing how things look. So I chopped a little bit of him off there, but never mind. Just keep cutting it out. And let's have a look what we've got. There we go. It probably could be a little bit neater, but there we go. We have a goldfish. So ready for an adventure. Okay, so let's see if we can take the little goldfish on an adventure. So remember, I was talking about the backgrounds. Here we go. This is the original bubble background that I use. So the fish could go for a swim on the bubble background. So you could make yourself some bubble paper. Have fun doing that. I've had a go also using magazines. In fact, I've been looking at holiday brochures today, old holiday brochures. Oh, and I felt transported. I felt like I could go and swim in the sea. So just take yourself away and look in your magazines or books or on the internet. Look at pictures of beautiful scenery. Just imagine where you'd really like to be right now, because everything will come good eventually, and we'll manage to get away at some point. So I've made a collage there of different pictures from a holiday brochure of water, and you could place your character on that collage. So that could be something that you could do. You could even cut out pictures. I got this pictures of sharks off the internet. So if you want to make a really scary story, you could actually add a shark in there, and that could be the start of your story. How can your goldfish get away from the shark? See what happens. So the other way of doing it is this way. I don't know whether you can see it. It's actually use spray painting. I've got this little thing here called a diffuser, and you can actually blow the paint onto the paper with your diffuser to make patterns. But first of all, to make the patterns, I've actually cut, can you see these shapes? I've cut these spiral shapes and wavy shapes out of the paper. And then I've stuck them on with some good old blue tack here, and then I've actually used the diffuser to spray it. I'm going to try and do this right now, but I've never done it live before, live streaming, but we'll see how it goes. So you have to make sure that the bottom of the diffuser goes into the ink, and then hold it very firmly, and then just blow. So hopefully we have water there. Can you see the green has now gone over the blue and creates a special effect. Usually I would leave it a little bit longer to dry, but I can't wait right now. So I'll start to peel it off. This is the fun bit. This is where you reveal the patterns beneath. So there's one, take the blue tack off. There's one bit revealed there. And you can play about with this, just layer upon layer. Another little wavy shape, and hopefully take this wave off down below. There we go. So we have, oh, there's one more missing. One got hidden away, didn't see that one. So you've got sort of a watery pattern background there, ready for your fish to swim in. So let's get the fish. Let's put the fish there. And you could stick him in any position he wants to go. He could be swimming upwards. Oh, let's swimming upwards. He could be diving down. And you can do whatever you like. So here's your story, so you can play with him. So that's the backgrounds. There's another way of creating a background as well, which if you look at my water video from the other week, I used acrylic paint, and I've got some acrylic paint here on this little palette. It's just a yogurt lid here. So I've put 3 colours. I've got a dark blue of acrylic paint, I've got a lighter blue, and I've got a white. So these are my special Swiss acrylic paints that I absolutely love. And I've got a nice wide brush here that's quite good. The only thing is it doesn't always fit in my jam jar, so I have to get a jam jar that's really wide. So if you just try and put the brush straight onto your colours, so you've got the three different, you've got the dark blue, the light blue and the white. So then you can play about with that and create a really watery sort of a look. So let's play. This can create beautiful backgrounds too. So if you just let those dry, and then you can use that, once they're dry, you can cut them out and use them, the collage, if you want to. So we've got the different backgrounds there. Also, if you want to make storybooks, another way, put Finn down there, shall we? Is making your own little books. I've got a little book here that I made for one of the group of children at Artcore. They all made their own little books about frogs at that time. But this one here, I've used one of my sketches of stones and water over the top and then placed a fish on the top. And it's like a little zigzag book that you can open and close, open and close. This is one of a frog one that we've done as well. So that's got the little boggly eyes that you can get. So what you do with that is you just cut out two pieces of card. I think I measured it 10 by 10 on this one. I've done one side already, so I did my watery effect on that card. So this one just needs the watery effect putting on it. So I'm going to cover this with a Pritt stick with glue. So hopefully, I'm running out of glue actually. I've managed to keep on going with without any art supplies buying anymore. But I think I'm just going to have to order some at some point. So, so I've put glue on there, all on the card. Any card will do from any packaging that you get. So then place your card onto the paper. That's your watery painted paper on one side, and that's the back. And then just cut off these ends here because we don't need these. We're just going to fold it over. So if any of you do any sketches or drawings, please let me know. Please post the pictures on the Artcore Facebook page. We'd love to see them. You know, spend the whole week playing about with this idea, developing your own characters and experimenting with different ways of drawing and painting. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. This is just my way that I was playing with. I always quote to a lot of my workshop participants a Pablo Picasso quote: "Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up." Because children most often have that really happy creative spirit, and adults often lose it, which I feel is so sad. And when people come to my workshops, I try and get them to be children again, to have a sense of wonder and look at the world around them and be playful and creative and enjoy and not worry about things being perfect. Just have a go with these things and see where it takes you. So you can see now I've put glue on these sections here and I'm just folding them in. You can spend more time on it and make it a lot neater if you want to, but I'm just showing you the principle of it. So there we are. We've got another bookend. So you can see that I've attached that one there. I need to attach this one to the other end. Okay, so I'll put a little bit more glue on that other one. And remember, if you're creating a book, think about the title. Remember to put your name on if you're the author or the illustrator. You might want to work with somebody else on this, another family member. Maybe you've got a writer in the family already, and you'd prefer to do the illustrations. Maybe you could work with a friend on video call. So you could do this little project you could do together, make them for a relative that you know you've not seen for a while, just pop it in the post. You know, it's a great idea to create your own story. So have a look at that idea. Make your book your own. I also did one with using the travel brochures. I cut out some water with those, water pictures with those. So you don't even have to have paints in the house. You can just use any scraps of magazines or newspapers or anything that you've got. So just be creative. Before we go, I've got one last possible book that I can show you how to make with the things that you might have at home right now. And these are stick books. So you can use any paper. This is just computer paper A4. And we've got a stick here and an elastic band. So it's just made out of three things: paper, stick and elastic band. And our postman brings us post, and every day there's an elastic band around the post. So my husband saves them and puts them on this ball, which I think is rather wonderful. So we're never short of elastic bands. There's a little tiny one there, a little stick. If you've got sticks around, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, just go and see if you've got any sticks. If you haven't, like, you could use an old pencil or have a look around the house what you could use to improvise. Just with young children, just be very careful with it's not a sharp stick and they don't put it near their eyes. So I'll just show you quickly how we can make this. At this time, I've selected some nice rainbow colours for the paper. So you just line them all up, fold them, and press this edge down. Now, when we were making our handmade books, we had this bone folder tool to actually get sharp edges when you're actually folding the book. So I'm going to use this on my desk. Oh, I've not used that for a long time. Makes me want to make books again. So there we go. So that's folded. And now I just need a hole puncher. So I've got a little hole puncher here. If you haven't got a hole puncher, like one of those, you can use a traditional one, or get an adult just to poke some holes through for you. So hopefully this will go through. So one hole there and another hole there. Oh, I think I've put too many layers together. That was tricky to do that. And then get your stick. You've got your holes. See your holes, your stick, and then we'll get an elastic band. There we go. So first of all, we need to push this one end of the band through the hole and then put it through the stick as well. There we go. And then we push through the other side and hopefully catch the other end. There we go. It's as simple as that. So there it is, ready for you to do your front book design. Think about the design. That was ours. We had the title of the book, The Little Goldfish, the title of the writer and the illustrator, and then we had Finn on there as well. But make it your own. It can be your own book. So there's another possibility. Okay. Have a look at the children's storybooks or your own books at home. Have a look at the design on the front covers. See which ones catch your eye and have a look at the different methods that people have used to illustrate them. I was recently given this wonderful book by another very good friend for Christmas. It's Charlie Mackesy. It's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And it's a beautiful book. There's just so many different beautiful things, illustrations and just comments really. This is one of my favourite ones here. It says here, "What do you think success is?" asked the boy. "To love," said the mole, which I think is rather beautiful. Some of them can make you cry, they're so moving. And I follow him on Instagram, and it's quite beautiful to have these pop up every day, to get you to think about positive things, about kindness, about love, about the simple things in life, and about relationships, and an unusual combination: a horse, a boy, a mole, and a fox. And it's about learning to get along with each other and respecting each other's differences and understanding each other. So within a story, there can be so much emotion, psychology, and so much to learn from simple stories, and simple words and illustrations can have a lot of depth and meaning, and can help you express yourself, help you to connect with other people, and help us to understand ourselves as well. So if you haven't got any pets, or you can't see any animals right now, another way of creating a fun game for the family is to get a bag and put a few of the toys that you might have around the house. I've not thrown all the toys away from when my children left home, and I often use them in my workshops and things. So we'll see what we've got in here. So we've got an alligator. We have what have we got else? We've got a lizard, and we've got let's have a look. Oh, we've got a fairy. So could we have a story about a fairy, an alligator, and a lizard? You know, what would their characters be? Where could they go? Where could they explore in the world right now, in your imagination? And what kind of a book, what kind of a world can you create? So there's all sorts of possibilities. I've got a penguin in here. There's a tiger, and there's a parrot, and a dinosaur. So maybe if you are doing it with children, think about things that they love, things that they enjoy playing with, and then it makes it more meaningful to them. And it's a great one now. Children are back at home and you're homeschooling. This is just so educational. It's to actually read stories, love stories, understand the structure and the creation of them, and also to foster a passion for books is just really important in life. And I know a lot of people, whatever age are now, taking a lot of solace in and reading, and you can be transported within minutes to get into a good book. So there couldn't be a better education than this for children. So have a go at making your own stories. If you haven't got any children at home, allow your own inner child to be creative. Have a look around the house, look at your ornaments, look at things you've collected over the years. Can you have a go at drawing those? Can you include them in your stories? Just post them to me. I'd love to see them. So that's it for today's session. I hope you've gained some sort of insight into illustration and what you could do. Please ask me if there's any questions. Please let me know now, or I'll message you later on if you've got any questions for me. And I'll be back next Monday doing another workshop. So I hope you'll join me, and stay safe, and I hope you enjoy doing your book illustration project for the rest of the week. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks for joining me.